Mercy College, and I'm very happy to be here celebrating our 31st annual Quills Awards ceremony. For 31 years, the program was established back in 1983. Each year at the Quills Awards, we celebrate the accomplishments of students, program alums, and successful media studies graduates, and successful people in the field, of course. It is a fine program where many have gone on to successful careers in media. The Media Studies program offers a Bachelor of Science degree in film culture, journalism, radio and television production, with additional course sequences in public relations and in performance. But at this time, I'm very honored to invite the 12th president of Mercy College to address you all. Please give a warm Media Studies welcome to President Hall.
Well, address is far too significant for the words that I have to share with you, which are welcome. It's great to see you all. This is the time of the year where flowers and new residence halls and award ceremonies blossom around the campus of Mercy College. All over the campus, we are recognizing students for their achievements and alumni who've gone on to do great things outside of this place, and professionals and leaders from all walks of life. So this is one of those, and I'm happy to get to see you all. I want to congratulate especially our students for the work that brought you here tonight, the awards that you're going to receive. I promise you there's a lot more in life, but the kind of habits of mind and dedication to work that brought you here tonight are precisely the kinds of things that will carry you on further from this place. We also congratulate our alumni, Danielle, and our visiting professional who we'll get to recognize here tonight as well for their accomplishments. I hope you'll pay attention to what's made them and how they've gone in their career. And I wish you great success as you continue on in your academic career here at Mercy College. Thanks.
Thank you, President Hall. In addition to President Hall, we have two other people from the administration here. Just give it a quick acknowledgement to Dr. William Sussman, Senior Associate Provost for Faculty Affairs. He's standing right back there. Give a wave. And also Dr. Saul Fisher, sitting right next to him, Executive Director of Grants. He's sitting right there. Thank you for coming. I didn't miss anybody, I hope. Soap opera director, movie producer, author, Gary Donatelli has been working in these areas since graduating from Indiana University, where he received a bachelor's degree in drama and art. While he wasn't quite sure what he was going to do after college, his art professor suggested to pursue work incorporating art with motion, since that professor recognized such fluidness of motion in his sculptures. As a young athlete and captain of the university's wrestling team, Gary started using video to document sporting events and soon found himself starting a career as a sports videographer. By the early 1980s, Gary built his videography career into a solid profession, working camera on ABC World of Sports, Monday Night Football, and the Summer and Winter Olympics of 1984. During this period, he ran television camera on other events such as the Kentucky Derby, the Indianapolis 500, World Series games, and championship boxing matches. He also worked on United States presidential inaugurations and covered space shuttle events such as takeoffs and landings. During the 1990s, Gary became a technical director in dramatic television and then director on such multi-camera studio shows as Another World, Loving, One Life to Live, General Hospital, and The Bold and the Beautiful. His television directing career has earned him 3 Emmy Awards and 7 Emmy nominations for daytime dramas. Another side to Gary is his work in issue-related projects, such as directing broadcasts and videos for the Variety's Children's Telethon, a post-9/11 informational video series for the New York City Fire Department, and a Katrina relief video featuring the cast and crew of One Life to Live. He recently produced his first feature film, 23 Blast, which has won the Audience Choice Award at Heartland Film Festival. Gary has also published the ABC Monday Night Football Cookbook and Restaurant Guide. And if this is not enough, Gary still finds time to be second vice president of the Directors Guild of America. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's Quills Award for Outstanding Professional Achievement goes to Gary Donatelli.
Wow. All I got to do is get a wall. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored to be honored. I'd like to thank. I'm not nervous at all. I usually work behind the camera. I tried acting. That doesn't work so well for me. A couple of people I need to thank. First, Super Lou Grasso, okay, who seems to be a very well-directed guy. Diana Capers. Where's Diana? There you are back there. Would you stand up for a second? Okay. One from Mercy College. I met her at an event with the Directors Guild. I don't want to make a commercial for the Directors Guild, but we have Student Film Awards every year, and you student filmmakers find out about that. You might win an award. It's a lot of fun, but I appreciate the right. I also want to mention a dear friend of mine who has worked in show business, I think since he was 7 years old. Ed Sullivan's show, original cast member of Grease. She was on a show called Ryan's Hope that some of the people my age may have heard of. She played a character called Delia, who's now on General Hospital. But I had the honor of working with her on Another World, and for years on One Life to Live as a character named Roxy Balsam. We had a lot of fun together. Eileen, would you stand up for a second, please? Okay. Yes, Eileen. Thank you. Besides being a lot of fun, she's a wonderful actor. She also was given a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Ensemble Theater Company. I'm messing that up. But she is an active member of a theater company in New York, and has also spent a lot of her years mentoring and helping young people grow into older people. So I thought it would be good for her to come here tonight, and I appreciated the support. So, and also congratulations to the winners. Who won? Anybody show me their hands? Who's the winner here? Stand up for a second. Yeah, there we go. Right there, all right. Okay, sit back down. All right. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so now you're getting near getting out of school. Y'all know what you want to do, right? Oh, no, probably not, right? Career. Oh my God. You're going to get a lot of advice about that, or you may not get advice about that. As I grew up, I was a fortunate son. I grew up in a nice middle-class home. I was lucky to have two very supportive parents, both who went to school on scholarships. Actually, they were the first people in their families, their respective families, to go to college back in the 1940s, which was really something for a woman at that time. Something for a man at that time, but definitely something for a woman. I'm just interested, because I always like to get to know people, and see if I could see a show of hands. Is there anybody here that is the first member of their family to go to college? How many do we have here? Look at that. Congratulations. Good for you. It gets me all wiggly inside. That's beautiful. Keep going. So the question gets to be, I guess, who pushes you? Is it family? Is it friends? Is it a significant other? Or is it no one? Is it just you? Do you have to push yourself? Well, we all know there's only one ride in life. And I guess the question is, are you a driver or are you a passenger? It's okay to be either one, but you got to be something. I worked for a guy that owned a little TV station down south named Ted Turner, who used to say, lead, follow, or get out of the way. And I always kind of liked that. It seemed a pretty gruff move, but there's a lot to that statement. Being where I am at this point in my career, and being an alumni of Indiana University, they have invited me to come back a couple of times to talk to students on the old people come back to talk to the kids about Career Day. And I love this one part of it, which has to do with sitting at a table and having the students come in one at a time. And they get, I don't remember if it was 5 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever it was, they'd get, a couple minutes with me to talk over what they were doing in school, where they were going, what they should do. And, they would come in and they, all nervous. And I'd say, relax, you relax, okay? And let's talk. They're so eager to get out of school and get going. And I'd listen to their story. And when it came to the advice part, I'd say something like, I think you should get in a car with one of your friends and drive to California. Or, I think maybe you should go to Amsterdam. Or, maybe you should go to Cuba, that's opening up. And they'd be like, what? I'd say, well, right now as you're getting out of school, it's probably the best time in your life to go do something else besides get a career, okay? Take it from me, once you get that career going, it's gonna keep going. And there are gonna be things like houses and families and cars and dogs and mortgages and all kinds of stuff you don't want to think about right now. And when you have the chance to be able to take what you need in a backpack and go see something, that's the best advice I will have for you today, okay, from once you get out of school. Go do something, go see the world, get around a little bit, because you're going to have a lot of years to work, okay? There's a lot of years to work. All right, let's talk about work. After Mr. Grasso's research and speech, I've only got about 3 minutes left of what to talk about. He pretty much covered my world. But as I was sitting listening to it, I thought, God, it has been a really amazing ride. It's an incredibly amazing ride. To be an art major and to be a football and wrestler at the same time seemed like, to me it just seemed like a natural thing. Actually, my father was an athlete, and he went to school at the Art Institute of Chicago when he was a teenager and was an artist. I was really fortunate in high school to have a wrestling coach who was also a sculptor. And so I learned early that the concept of what I used to call, when I learned in history about Athens and the Athenian man, that was someone that could be a warrior, but could be an artist, could know how to build a house, but could also learn how to play a guitar, sing a song. That you could be tough, but you could also be compassionate and really know what love is about. So I aspired to that, but when I first got into college, it was kind of funny because the guys in the football team thought I was an artist, so they were like a little, what? And the art department thought I was a jock, so it was a little strange. But there was another guy on the team, my buddy John, who was in that same very small cross-section. He's now a goldsmith and silversmith out in Indiana, and we're still very connected because we had that great bond. One of my best friends is a man named Dennis Downs, who's a painter in Chicago. He's actually made a living as a painter, and I don't mean houses, I mean beautiful paintings. But he also has taken the time to become an authority on Native American trail marker trees, which was kind of like interstate signs for the Indians back in the day. We stayed friends also because he was third in the state in gymnastics and was also an artist. And we had that cross-section. Now, there are certain things in each interest that serve very well. In the wrestling arena, I knew that I learned focus, I learned discipline, I learned move, counter move. All those things later came into play much later in my life and still serve me to this day. Prior to my career in the working world, maybe starting at 10 years old, instead of being on Ed Sullivan like Eileen was, I sold candy from a little red wagon. I had a paper route. I was a babysitter. I was a gardener. I was a janitor. I was a dishwasher. I was a pantry chef. I was a construction worker, a truck driver, a bartender. Never knowing how those things might fit into my later occupation in life. Okay, and we'll get to that in a little bit. What did they prepare me for? Well, ironically, my first job in the business came because of my connection to wrestling and art. I went to go try to work at Ted Turner's company, and I tried everywhere to get. I was in a 70s crime movie. I was trying to get anything going, but I wasn't getting a job. And my dad said, why don't you go over to where my lawyer works out over at Georgia Tech? He wrestles, and go get some of this frustration out of you and go throw somebody around or go be thrown around. Get the hell out of here and just go wrestle. So I went over, I took him up on it. I went to the gym, and it turns out that the assistant coach was the head of the art department at Turner Broadcasting, okay? So, and they also needed an assistant coach at Georgia Tech. So because I was a big shot Midwestern wrestler, and down south they don't have the greatest wrestlers in the world, they didn't back then anyway, he wanted me to coach the team. And I said, well, I can't coach the team. I got to get a job in showbiz, babe. And he said, okay, how about this? How about you work in the art department in the day, and then you coach the team at night. It's going to be a double thing, but I'll get your door and your foot in the door here, and you'll help me with the team. I guess the moral of that little story is, any way you can get in, you get in. You know what I mean? But it worked out very well. I made a deal, okay? Working in the art department, I couldn't wait to get into production because I really wanted to be a cameraman. That's where the action is, not sitting in the art department cutting up little pieces of paper. And I used to go regularly to the head of the production department to say, hey, you need a cameraman? You need a cameraman yet? No, and you're in the art department. You're in the art department. Well, one day, one of the cameramen came in to me because Ted Turner had just bought some big remote trucks to start. He bought the Atlanta Braves, he bought CNN, it was all when all that was starting to really burgeon. And one of the cameramen came in the art department and said, hey man, they just bought this huge 18-wheeler with cameras and stuff in it, and they don't have any drivers. Back when I was a kid, they used to have these matchbooks. It was like a running gag, learn to drive the big rigs in 8 days, and bet yourself on the road. I picked up the matchbook from United Systems, and I called that number. And in 10 days, I walked into the head of production, and he said, no, I don't need a cameraman. And I took out my new trucker's license, and I laid it on the table, and I said, I hear you got a remote truck. He said, you want to go to Houston Tuesday? Boom, got to me riding and shifting gears and having a party. And what that led into was that once we got all those cameras and equipment to Houston and every town, we had to take the cameras out and set them up. So I learned how to set up cameras. And then they needed a cameraman to go with those cameras, and all of a sudden, I was a cameraman. Okay? So it's like wrestling led to art, led to United Systems truck driver school, led to my camera job. Okay? You got to stay open, right? Okay. Let's see what else happened. And that led me to running into a friend that I had played football with, who's now a producer-editor at 48 Hours, but at that point, he was a young buck at ABC. I ran into him on a place where we were renting the equipment to ABC. He said, hey, man, I got this little one-bedroom apartment in New York. Come on to New York. You can stay on my couch. So I, packed up what college furniture I had into a van from Georgia and left with 900 whole bucks and slept on his couch for about a year, okay? But started my action in New York. After about a year of starving and sleeping on my buddy's couch, I got hired by ABC and became a network cameraman. I spent 10 years on the road, traveling from little towns, big towns, everything that it says in there. I met some of the poorest people in the world. I met presidents. I met James Brown. I got to sit in a room and talk by myself with Muhammad Ali. I met Madonna, astronauts. I mean, it's when I, sitting here looking at this thing, I start realizing, God, if I could hit, I don't want to say that, but it's like, if it ended tomorrow, don't cry for me, Argentina. This has been very good. Okay, Indy 500, but the drivers waving the flag, the Kentucky Derby, the Winner's Circle, space shuttle launches, landings out in the desert, the Olympics. Oh my God. I drove a van for the Eyewitness News around town. That in itself is an adventure. I cannot tell you you know, you go to a hotel fire, then you're down on the docks in Brooklyn when there's rats and guys on a ship, and then you know, and then the same day you're at a Federal Gold Reserve in a room this big full of gold bars and platinum. I used to have the most bizarre dreams, but I loved it. I could not get enough of it. You want to see New York City? That's the way to see it. It was a very heady time, but I wanted more. I wanted more. So I trained to become a technical director. That put me into the basement of ABC for 3 years, running commercials. And the Murphy Oil soap song used to play in my head every night while I was sleeping. And the Tetra Fish ad and all these other things. Scooby-Doo Mysteries. I hated that show. And I used to have to stare and watch and stare at it to make sure that the colors weren't off. But I also started to see some pretty good work in the studios. Eileen was on Ryan's Hope. There was a lot going on that I was forced to watch. Let's see what else I got going here. So while I was working at ABC, sending out commercials and stuff, I saved my money and I bought my first real professional television camera. I started my own production company. And then things start to really work. I had to because I also at the same time was starting a family. So there was, you know, more than just me and my buddy's couch going on at that point. Okay? The camera got me into all kinds of networking situations. I shot music videos, corporate videos, and I felt the feeling of owning my own camera, the power of owning my own camera, which was a very unique thing at the time. Now, almost everybody on the planet has a camera right in your pocket at all times. It is an amazingly powerful, powerful tool, as we're seeing right now. Are we not seeing that on the air right now? The camera is such a powerful tool that we are voting whether or not to put them on every police officer. I was in a situation I won't bore you with on my way to Cuba recently, where there was this mad, insane thing going on at the airport, and I just took out my phone and started to record it, and boy, you want to talk about things settling down. The power of the lens is unmistakable, and it's going to be more and more. What's going to be tricky for us is to figure out what's real and what's not. That's going to be your real challenge. So the training as a TD allowed me into an opportunity to become a technical director on a dramatic show. Now this is where I wanted to go. I wanted to become a dramatic director eventually someday. All of a sudden, I was working with some of the best network dramatic directors in the business and learning. That went on for another 6 years. In my head, it seems like, well, that was this big, but it was 6 years. It's a lot of time. One day, while I was working there, they had brought in a new director who was a very well-known Broadway director, but he was not a TV director. And there's the TV director when drama incorporates drama and the nuts and bolts of the equipment and storytelling and all this thing. So he was in a mess, and I leaned over, and I whispered to him what I thought would fix the problem, and then when he agreed upon it, I said, "Listen, you know, relax, because at that point, you know, as a technical, you're taking the shots." And I said, "I'll get you through this, okay?" So we sat back. He was watching the performance to make sure it was right, but I cut it, okay? So the scene ended, and it was good, and he went back out to the studio floor to work. The producer came up to me and said, "Have you ever thought about directing?" And my brain was going, "Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me that ball." "Yes, ma'am, I have." And they started to let me start training. They gave me a court show. They gave me a love show. They gave me a big fight show. You know, it just started to really progress. Now, I had some really good support, and a great company at the time that really allowed me to grow. It was a very fortunate situation. All of a sudden, all those earlier skills I was talking about, truck driving and construction, all started to pay off in these really different ways. The construction, I knew how to talk to the carpenters and the electricians on the set. about moving set walls, about how to make lighting cues, about how to get a camera to work underwater without electrocuting people in a little tank that looks like a big ocean. As a bartender, I learned so much psychology about human interaction, but I also learned about how to make business for actors. Not every actor works as a waitress or a waiter in New York, okay? I love the ones that do, because they've also had to learn how to really act. Oh, your salad's not good? Oh, yes, ma'am. I'll do that for you right now. Bitch. Not you. But also how to do business. One of the hardest things for an actor, particularly one that hasn't been a waiter or a waitress and has 30 pages to memorize since last night, is how to incorporate the performance with biz. Eileen used to play Roxy Balsam on One Life to Live. And she had a hair salon, and she ran a hotel. And I don't know if Eileen was ever a waitress, but I'll tell you, she knew how to do business. She knew business. And I always enjoyed working with her, because anything that I could imagine, she would say, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then it would be better. That's the beauty of it, is, you cut the suit and you sew the suit, but then the actors put that suit on and they bring it to life. It's a really magical, wonderful thing. Now, after all this, you might say, well, yeah, sure, Gary, you grew up 6'4", a white guy in a nice suburban town with two parents who were supportive of you, and here you are getting your achievement award. Wow, isn't that great? Isn't that wonderful? That's so wonderful. Well, I just want to say that as I began to travel and look around the world, I got a great sense of how privileged I was as a big white guy, if I can speak that plainly with you, but also as a person living in this country. An amazing advantage, an amazing advantage. There's an old saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I started to wear that like it was tattooed backwards on my forehead, okay? And that's actually what got me into, as I began to work, to be a mentor. One of my colleagues said to me, you can't just keep taking water from the well. You got to put some back in. Sometimes you got to prime the pump. That's what keeps the water flowing, okay? What's interesting to learn, of course, is that as you're doing mentoring, as you think you're, expanding and expounding upon all these great thoughts, the learning really comes to you from these new, fresh minds that have not been tainted by 20 years in a network business, okay? So it's a two-way street. That's why I was involved with the Disney Mentoring Program, and why, as an officer in the Directors Guild, we have a very strong commitment to mentoring and to finding divergent voices, new voices, and to equaling the balance between male and female and Caucasians and people of color in the entertainment industry. I don't want to quote a communist, but Mao Zedong had a saying that half of the sky is held up by women. And as we're very aware of right now, half of the working force is held up by women, but only about a third of the pay is going to them. We need to do something about that. And I promise you, as a member of the Directors Guild, we are doing something about it. We're not just talking about it. The last negotiations, we got the studios who have smiled and said, yeah, that's true, we need to do that help, to commit to serious programs that are structured, that have money involved in them, and they have people mentioned. It's not just a concept. This is something for the future. So this is one of the greatest times to be somebody with an alternative voice. It's a better time than it's ever been. The combination of small equipment, everybody in the world having a camera, and how the world is, thank God, finally changing, is a very exciting time. And it's a time for you to pick up on things. People help me along the way. That's the whole deal. And it's time to put it back. Okay, enough on that. So let's review, okay? Number one, go with what you know. Even if it's wrestling and football. Who knew the first feature film I would get involved with was 23 Blast, about a kid that played football, went blind, and played football again. Go on 23blast.com if you want to see more about it or order it. Number 2, don't be afraid to try new stuff. Okay? And put in some extra time to do that. If you're going to do what everybody else does and only do 100%, odds are that you're not going to make it big time, okay? When everybody else is going home and going to bed, that's the time to kick it in and do that little bit extra. It doesn't have to be monumental. It has to be like when I was a wrestler, the discipline of every day, of toning and training, okay? But you got to do that little bit of extra. Hopefully your hunger will get you to do that thing. Number 3, follow that dream. As Elvis said, I'm going to follow that dream wherever that dream may lead, okay? But while you're following that dream and putting in that extra 20% and all that, don't forget to stop and smell the roses. Because life's what happens when you're busy doing other things, okay? Number 4, use your resources, okay? What do you have? I came up with the cookbook, the Monday Night Football Cookbook and Wrestling. I'm a restaurant guide, wrestling guide. That's supposed to be a better book. It came from me getting bored of being on the road and literally sitting down with a legal pad one day in a hotel room and going, what do I have? I've got travel, I've got free telephones, we eat like kings in every town, and each town has its own unique perspective, and I work for a huge network that has a publishing company. All of a sudden it was like, Monday Night Football, Howard Cosell, ding, 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 boom, boom, it happened. It was just a matter of listing what I had, okay? And I had 8 other colleagues that were sitting there every day staring out at the bleachers, waiting for the game to start and thinking, boy, this couldn't be a better life. And it was a good life. But to me, I thought maybe there might be an even better life. Number 5, the last one on the hit list is, when you become a big shot, don't forget to do your mentoring. And don't forget to call me, because by that point I'll probably need a job as a driver. I'll wear a hat. I'll be very discreet. Finally, oh, thank God. You know, growing up in the 60s, it was a very different time. There was war. There was a struggle for civil rights. Drugs were a problem in the country. Oh gosh, wait a second. I think that's 2015 I'm talking about. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I want to seriously believe that we have a better shot at fixing some of those things now than we had 40 years ago. And what you all are doing with journalism and writing and shooting and cameras is what's going to help save us. I beg you to continue and keep going on. And then a final wrap-up thought. You know, I was talking about Ted Turner Station in the art department. This is the perspective part, okay? When I left college, a graphic like this, you know, we made a graphic like this. Now, this is where you realize, oh my God, this guy is so freaking old. This is like Fred Flintstone, okay? To get something that says, Rain-X, $9.95, Atlanta, Georgia, 30309, order today, $10.95. First, we would take an art cardboard. We would line it out with an invisible pencil. Then we would take something called letraset, okay, or not letraset, these lead letters, like a printing press. Put them into this mechanical thing backwards, screw them in, what size, what type. There was this giant desk thing full of lead letters. Put them all in, turn on the heater. Then we would take, if it's a blue background, we put out a blue card. Then if it was orange letters, we would take out this plastic thin orange stuff and lie it down very carefully on the card, and then take this thing that was heated up letters and press it down on the plastic so it would melt onto the card, hopefully making clean edges on those little Helvetica lines. Lift that off, blow it dry, take it over to the camera stand where we would shoot the thing with a camera. Then we would take it to freaking Kodak to develop into a slide. That slide would go into the telecine in the broadcast center. That would, and then it would be put onto the air and dissolved in. okay? To do a graphic today, a 4-year-old opens a laptop and, okay? I can only imagine what you are going to see by the time you're my age. It just boggles my mind. You know, my grandfather used to say to me, I was here when the Wright brothers flew their first plane, and I lived long enough to see a man on the moon. I can only imagine what you're going to see in your life, Gary. What I see right now is hope. I hope you will take advantage of what you have, your resources, and that someday one of you will be standing up here and feeling the feeling that I have, which is a great humility for being honored, but also a feeling that, yeah, we are progressing. I'd like to just wrap it up here with that thought in mind. I'd like to thank you all very much. Encourage you to keep showing up. That's what Woody Allen said, 90% of success is showing up. And there's a lot to that. Thanks for showing up for me tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary, for those kind words of inspiration and lessons fit into the college environment quite well. The next part is the Alumna Award. Graduating from Mercy College's Media Studies program in 2013 with a specialization in radio and television production, Danielle Lambert knew quite early the direction she wanted to take her career. Upon graduating from high school in her hometown of Bethpage, Long Island, Danielle went directly to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, graduating from an accelerated program in broadcast production. She then obtained a position as an on-air radio show host during an overnight shift on Star 99.9 FM in Connecticut, a position she held for 2.5 years. During that same period, she found Mercy College's Media Studies program, where she graduated with program and baccalaureate honors. While a student in the program, Danielle was very easy to work with. She was fun and always came to class with a can-do attitude, a real upbeat personality. She received several Quills Awards for excellence in television and film studies classes. Danielle continued to build her career by getting internships through the Media Studies program at such high-profile shows as Regis and Kelly in 2011, where she would tell you that she worked long days for little money. And later, the Jerry Springer Show. Luckily, she didn't get hit by a chair. And then the Steve Wilkos Show in 2013. In more recent times, when not working on the staff of such shows like America's Got Talent and The X Factor, Danielle freelances on other shows like Dance Moms and Shark Tank. Currently, she resides in Westchester County, where she keeps her finger on the pulse of the TV media scene in New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's Quills Award for Outstanding Alumna goes to Danielle Lambert.
This is so awesome. When Grasso called me and told me this was happening, I was like, what? That's crazy. But thank you, Professor Grasso and the Media Studies Department. This is such a cool award to have. I only graduated about 2 years ago, but I've had a pretty busy 2 years. I've worked for companies such as Madison Square Garden, Radio City Music Hall, HGTV, X Factor, Dance Moms, Shark Tank, Family Feud, and America's Got Talent. I've had quite a busy 2 years. When I'm working with America's Got Talent, I work as a casting associate, a PA, which is a production assistant, and an assistant stage manager. I work very closely with some of the best DGA stage managers in the country, and the best part about them is that they know my name. So they kind of mentor me, so I'm very lucky to know them. They are laser smart, focused, and they challenge me continuously every single day that I work with them. But when I was here at Mercy, I applied to be an intern at ABC. I remember it like it was yesterday. I walked into Grasso's office and I said, hey, where's that intern night you told me about that's happening for ABC? When's that happening? He looks at the sheet and he goes, tonight. So I run out of the office. I was an RA at the time, living in a hotel. And I run to my resident director and I was like, please, I can't work tonight. Let me go. Like I called out of my work study job. And I was like, this is it. If I don't go, I have to wait an entire year. I begged her. And I'll never forget what she said to me. She said, fine, but make it count because this is never happening again. And what she was trying to teach me was just some tough love. You know, she was trying to tell me, you're an adult, you can't always get out of your obligations. But I'll never forget her telling me, make it count. So I ended up getting that internship at Live with Regis and Kelly. It was the best experience of my entire life. Besides the 10 seconds that they let me meet Taylor Swift. But yeah, it was, it was the greatest experience of my life. Most people would think that working for a big show like that, producers are too busy, that my main responsibilities would be coffee runs. That was absolutely not the case. I never got coffee once, except for Michael Bublé, but that's cool. But they gave me a lot of responsibilities, including organizing the prop wardrobe for Regis and for Kelly. I organized the archives, which dated all the way back to 1985. And I was chosen by a producer to work the Live Ultimate Fan Contest, where I went through thousands of submissions to find the one person who was Live with Regis and Kelly's ultimate fan, who I still keep in touch with that producer. But she was someone else who mentored me and challenged me and allowed me that responsibility. While I was here in school, I completed 2 other internships, one at Madison Square Garden, working at Radio City Music Hall, and the other, Jerry Springer, which was interesting, as you can imagine. But during that time that I was in school and completing all those internships, I had several jobs, but I was very well supported. My mom is here, and my mom supported me. She's my best supporter. My PAC mentor is also here, Nick, would let me sit in his office and whine. But I also had great professors, great classmates who I told Grasso earlier today I run into at America's Got Talent. So we are close now. And then soon-to-be graduates, they were my best resource when I was a sophomore or a junior. They would give me advice and tell me what to do and what their fears were going in, so I knew what to expect when I was leaving here. My point is that internships are tough. The life after Mercy was tough for me, but I managed to pull it all together. While working at ABC, Grasso's right, I worked for nothing. I worked 10-hour days for $10 a day. So you can do the math there. But like I said, best experience of my life. I wouldn't change it for a moment. And I always made those experiences, all my internships, all my jobs, I always made them count because I knew that was the most important thing. That was one of the most important lessons I learned while being in school here is that every opportunity I get, I need to make it count. So that's my best advice to you guys, to value your professors, your classmates, use your resources, and just make every moment that you want to work in this business, make it count. So thank you, Professor Grasso and Media Studies. I really appreciate this award.
Thank you very much, Danielle, for those kind words about the program. Actually, coming up next is the part about you guys, the students, the certificates you're going to receive for excellence in coursework. Journalism and the reporter's impact, or the impact as it's now called. That newspaper has won about 8 or 9 awards in the last 5 or 6 years. and that's because of the students in the program that are dedicated to that newspaper. It's also because of the next person I'm going to introduce to you, the faculty advisor to that newspaper and the teacher of the journalism classes at Mercy College. Please welcome Professor Michael Parada.
Hi, how are you? You know, I was told it's too early for white. But I'm a writer, so I don't care. Never have. And that's part of this business, is you just shouldn't care. And I hope everyone kind of really took the words that Gary had said, and thank you for that really heartfelt speech. I really appreciate that. And it's great to see someone who's been so successful in the business talk to the students so realistically. And I hope you really understand the point of where he says, live your life, because that's what creates the opportunity. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That was excellent. Okay, now I'm going to do something I've never done in 10 years, and I'm actually going to address the graduating seniors, because I've never done this before, but I normally say goodbye to a very wise and experienced group of journalists, and they're replaced with younger, inexperienced journalists who have a lot to prove and a lot to look up to. And usually there's one or two special seniors that really stood out to me, that I knew were going to be so successful, and I really couldn't thank them enough for all the work they did. And this year I'm losing about 12 of them. I've never had such a class that we're such a complete newspaper staff, and we're just so blossomed as journalists. I've never had such a big staff that to lose all of them at the same time. This is really a special group, and they were very innovative to me over the past 2 years. They helped me redesign the journalism lab, which has just been night and day how much of an impact it's had on our student learning, on our website, and they've really set a precedent for the future staff. So I love how everyone, you know, in the media studies program and in the impact kind of refer to themselves as a family, because you are. And it's exactly what it is, and it's a family that you'll always be welcome back to. So, having said that, just wanted to say that to the seniors. Now, going to that, our college newspaper, The Impact, we're always trying to stay current, and we're a smaller school with a budget competing against much bigger schools, and I kind of took it as an ultimate compliment. A few years ago, I was at a conference, and the advisor of the Ithaca paper, which has been running for 100 years, and they're a well-oiled machine, and he had moseyed up to me one time at a conference and said, "You guys snuck in there, won another award this year." He said, "That's pretty good." So took that as an ultimate compliment for my students, because they are fearless and they do not care the size of the paper. We're going up against NYU, we're going up against Columbia, we're going up against Ithaca in the New York Press Association every year for awards, and yet we still keep coming out with some victories. So I think that really says a lot. So they've been so hands-on trying to stay current, and 5 years ago that meant redesigning our website and adding video to it and doing everything we could to make our website presence as strong as it possibly could. But times quickly change, and over the past year that meant strengthening our mobile presence. So 2 weeks ago we launched our mobile app, the Impact mobile app, which I'm very pleased with. A lot of the students worked very hard in putting ideas of how we wanted to do our app. So if you download the Impact News on any Apple product, you can get the college newspaper right on your cell phone or your iPad. So we're very proud of that. Okay, so for our first award. Our first award is the General Excellence Award. It's the top award we give every single year. And a lot of great journalists have won this award over the years. And 2 years ago, I remember a student came into my class And it's the old story. She didn't say 2 words, and sometimes you didn't even know she was there. And to see her progression, to see a woman fall in love with her passion and attack it fearlessly, it's a professor's dream. It really is. And the day that she realized that she was a journalist and not a student journalist, that she was, the moment she decided she wanted to be a journalist, her inner writer took over. And there's been nothing stopping her ever since. She's on the front page, just about every single issue. Later, as I got to know her, she became a great friend, as not just a student. And I didn't realize how involved with almost every single thing on campus she really was. And she doesn't just participate in things. She is so exceptional at everything she does, and she becomes a leader at everything she does. She's probably one of the most dependable and reliable people I've ever met. And it's true when I say, I don't know what I'm going to do without her next year. And that's why I'm failing her. You flunked. You cannot leave. I will pay nothing. I will pay nothing. You're just going to come here. I don't care for credits. You're just going to come here. I wish her nothing but the best of success, because she's certainly going to deserve it. So the winner of the 2015 General Excellence in Journalism Award and the cash prize that accompanies it goes to Miss Carissa Alum. Okay, next up is awards for writing editorials. That's where the Impact staff takes a look at things that are going on campus, on the world, and we interject our opinion into them, and we try to tell the people, the big business, the corporations, the powers that be, you have to protect us little people. Don't forget about us, or we're going to come after you. And I'm very proud of the editorials we've written over the past couple of years, and they do make change, and I think the students realize that they can become change. So the first person who won an editorial award is a former managing editor of our paper. She's probably the longest tenured Impact person I've ever had for 4 straight years. She's been there. She's done so much for us. There's never, whenever I've needed someone to pick up someone's slack or a new concept, hey, I have an idea, who can I throw it at? Well, she was always the person I kind of threw it at, and I actually even had to call her last week and say, what awards haven't you won since you've been here for 4 years and you've won just about everything? So, and just recently we were just speaking about women's equal pay, and that was her last editorial that'll be out in the newspaper tomorrow. So if I were the rest of you, I would listen to what she has to say. So our first winner for editorial writing is Erminia Arante.
Thank you.
Now, these next 2 winners, I'm going to actually ask to come up together, because this year, our New York Press Association award was in editorial writing. And to win an editorial award, one writer cannot win it. It has to be a staff award. It has to be written by 3 different staff members. Makes it a very difficult award to win, because not only do you have to rely on yourself, which in most of the business world you say, okay, I can do it. Now you have to rely on staff members to do it with you. So one exceptional writer cannot win this award. It needs to be a group effort. So we had 3 editorials that were submitted as a package by 3 staff members, and we ended up winning our first ever editorial award by the New York Press Association, 2 of which by women that are in this room. Our other student is an exchange student. He's in England, so we couldn't really fly him in. But our first winner is actually the General Award, or our General Excellence Award winner from last year. She's the current managing editor. She has completely owned the front page, typically the past 2 years. She's always finding a knack for finding really interesting students on campus. And she's just done such an amazing job for us. Our other winner is not a media studies student. She's a psychology student. And we just walked in and said, "Can I just join this thing?" And we're like, "Oh, another volunteer, wonderful." Well, all of a sudden I started reading her writing and said, oh, you can sit right here. You're doing a great job. So she became our opinions editor, and that's probably because she has so many of them. And together, she wrote an editorial focusing on feminism, while Maria addressed race relations. So we're not just writing editorials about humdrum things, we're really trying to attack world issues. So I'd like to introduce Maria Elena Perez and Jacqueline Miranda to collect their... They actually have their awards, NYPA awards with them tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Huh? Why don't you guys take a picture together? Here's actually your full awards too. Thank you, ladies. Okay, next we're going to go rather quickly now. We're going to talk about some general classes and some skills that are focused on. So our first is a news reporting award, and these awards go to students who take what they've learned in the classroom and they write for the newspaper. So our first winner is a student who is, I mean, if you look at any flyer or magazine or website picture, this student somehow finds her way to be in it. It's just because she's involved with every activity that's ever been created. So a few months ago, she had said she wanted to write about the student council, and she's done a great job at that. And then last month, she wanted to write about President Hall's inauguration, which is actually going to be featured in the Mercy magazine that's being launched later this summer. And they had reached out and said, "We want this article for our magazine," which I thought is a great tribute. So for news reporting, Elizabeth Berlin. Thank you. Okay, next we're going to give out awards for feature writing. And feature writing is finding an interesting topic that wouldn't always necessarily be considered newsworthy. It's not a current event, it's an overall issue, or it's finding an interesting person who isn't a typical newsmaker and writing a profile on them. So we've had some students who've done exceptional for the paper and exceptional in class. So the first I'd like to introduce is a third-degree black belt, not to mention, so be careful, Helena Rodriguez.
No, okay. Okay.
All right, we'll do it later. Not going anywhere. Next is a student I stumbled into in an English class I teach. I always like to teach one English class just to find those burgeoning writers. And I knew I liked her the first day when she came in with a Johnny Manziel jersey on. So I said, okay, she's going to be okay. So she's done a great job in a feature writing course. Kayla Simus. Okay, okay. Next is a student who has been very dedicated the past 2 semesters. We're always staying late and always putting on her work, working on her stories because she wants to do the best possible. She's doing a great job. Veronica Roxek. Congratulations. And her partner in crime, where I learned a hard lesson in class. If you upset her, you have to buy her cookies for the next class. So I don't know if she was lying, just wanted the cookies. Miriam Odegaard. Okay, another student who, for 2 semesters, has done a great job in feature writing, and she's joining the newspaper staff next semester, Chantal Marshall. Now, this student is our current features editor for the newspaper. She's written some really excellent stories. Notably, she really takes some really controversial topics and some heartfelt topics and really lends a face to them. Earlier this semester, she wrote a very moving piece about a faculty member who lost a daughter to suicide, and it was our front page story, and I think it may have been our best front page story in a really long time. It was really out of this world. And she's graduating, and she's going to have a wonderful career. Maritza Velasco. Congratulations. Oh, you're back. Get out of here. Oh, I just misplaced. Oh, here we are. Okay, this next one is actually she's a dual athlete at Mercy. She plays 2 sports, and you know, if that's not enough, she's also an extremely talented writer and media studies student, and she is going to be taking over as the managing editor of The Impact next semester. So, I'd like to introduce Marie Roser.
Okay, thank you.
We got you. Okay, we have, of course, magazine production where we study all the magazines that are going on in the country and who's doing things right, who's doing things wrong, who's making money, who's not making money. Why is that happening? We talk about design, we talk about concepts, and at the end of the semester, students have to pitch their own magazine idea, and the winner of the or the top people who pitch get top grades, and it's a healthy competition. So students really come up with some really creative ideas. So for magazine production, again, Maritza Velasco. And Carissa Allen.
I'm gonna walk.
Yeah, you walk. You already got your shot, now you just walk. Yeah. Second time, you just walk. Is Asani here? Asani Jackson? Okay. Isaac? Okay. Okay. On to every every journalism student's most dreaded course, copy editing. I've been getting some very angry emails and texts because they're working on the final project, and it is not easy to take a bunch of copy and edit it, correct it, make it proper in the Associated Press style guide, and then design a newspaper the old-fashioned way, pen and paper, before you can even consider to understand how the graphics and building it on a computer program. You have to understand the concepts of design, and it is very tedious, it is very maddening, and that is why I give these awards to these students out of fear, I guess. Maritza Velasco again. Welcome. Marissa Martufi. Congratulations, dude. Okay. Mandy? Mandy here? Okay. Going on. Going on. Kayla Simus. Thank you, Kayla. Carissa Allen. Sorry. Okay, now I'm going to introduce a photography course, which I don't teach, but that professor was not available to make it this evening. So here's some student. I'm sorry, what was it? Marisol Diaz. Professor Marisol Diaz couldn't make it this evening. So these students, you know, it's our first time we offered a photography class in a really long time, and students have really enjoyed it, and they've been doing some really creative things, and not just traditional photography, but you know, putting photography on Instagram and using their mobile phones and making photography narratives, which is really a new concept. So students are really enjoying the class. Here's some students who have done very well. Alfio Indiviglia. Naisha Almestica. Okay. Christopher Hart. There's my guy. There's my guy. That's my screenwriter right there. Put me in the movie. And last, Maria Ludvigsen. Okay, back to Professor Grasso. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Parada. Next up is public relations. Professor Mitchell teaches public relations in the media studies program. She also runs the communication studies program, and a lot of those courses in media, well, several of those courses in media studies and public relations run together in the communication studies program. So please welcome Professor Judith Mitchell.
Thank you, Professor Grasso. What we've done in the communication studies program is partner with media studies by offering in rotation newsletter writing, publicity writing, and the practice of public relations. We do that to give media studies students an opportunity to kind of use the skills that they learn in journalism and magazine production and be able to translate that to another setting altogether. So it kind of broadens their experience and makes them more marketable when they go to find a job. So in the newsletter class, for instance, which we're doing this semester, students get to pick any topic they want and produce an 8-page newsletter in the topic of their choice. And we talk about design, we talk about matching content with visuals, we talk about editorial style, how you can create your own voice as you make this publication happen. In the fall, we had the practice of public relations, and that gave us an opportunity to look at the bigger picture of when you're disseminating information and what kind of an impact it can have on people, and that it always is based on truth and facts. So students that study journalism, that study what it means to relate to an audience, learn how to take those skills and apply it in a different field altogether. So tonight we are applauding those students who did well in both of those classes. For the practice of public relations, I'd like to congratulate Tiffany Tejada. Tiffany here? Marissa Martufi. Now stay here for a second. Okay, here's the microphone. Right. Now, I know you've taken media studies classes and you've taken communication studies classes, right?
Yes.
Okay, I know I'm putting you on the
I
spot. We didn't
know.
rehearse this. Okay. Tell me how, from your point of view, the relationship between the two majors, and do you feel that it benefited
Between
you?
media and communications?
Exactly, yep.
Oh, they definitely go hand in hand. I don't even know. You're putting me on the spot here. Just found out about this yesterday. For media courses and public relations, you really need to know all the aspects of the career. For public relations, if you're doing an event for someone famous, or you need to know all the outlets on how to get their information out there. And I think it's important to know all the media outlets that go along with it.
Yeah.
So it goes really well hand in hand.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Congratulations. Jacqueline DiGianni, is she here? Oh. Hey, Jackie. Congratulations. Christine Casalino. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yay.
I know that you were working with a camp,
Yes.
right, in
Long Island.
Long Island. Okay. Tell me how the work that you did in the class helped with an actual employment situation.
Well, in order to have that work together, you have to first know the real job. You have to know what PR calls for and what the camp called for. So in order to make that work, you had to kind of combine both together and make it so the camp looked fantastic, even no matter what was going on. And that's really how we learned what to do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Now, these awards are for the newsletter writing class. It's currently going on. Tara Geigel. Stephen Biden. They're working on their take-home final. Okay. Michael Nash. And Kristen McGovern. Okay.
Oh, geez.
Okay. Now, you're working with the gym, right?
Yeah.
And you're creating a newsletter for the gym.
Yeah.
Right? Do they know that you're doing this?
Yeah.
They do?
I
What-
told them
what-
on, what was it? I told them yesterday.
Yeah? Did you show them what you have so far?
Not yet. No.
Not yet? Okay, what was their reaction?
They were intrigued.
Yeah.
They actually like kind of offered a little because they actually have their own newsletter right now,
Uh-huh.
but they saw what I was doing and they kind of like my version better than theirs. So I'm going to talk to the head of the gym, Jason, like next week or no, tomorrow. Wow, sorry, tomorrow. After my personal training session. So
Okay, time to ask for a raise.
yeah.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The next awards are for a course called Celebrity and Culture that we offered earlier this year. The professor for that course is not available this evening, but we will move on. Naomi Asuji. Congratulations. Shalakaya Barton. Congratulations. Thank you. Natalia Famous. Okay. And then we have another course, scene study. Lou, did you want me to keep going? Scene study? Did you want me to keep going? Okay, all right.
You got him. I was going crazy looking for him. That's what I was looking for over here, the Acting and Performance Awards. That's what I was doing. Dr. Johansson, Rebecca Johansson, cannot be with us here tonight. She's teaching in the Bronx campus, so she asked me, and now I'm asking Professor Mitchell to hand out the awards for acting and
Well,
performance.
we'll do it together.
We'll do
Why
it
don't you just
together,
stand
okay.
here? Okay,
So,
all right. Shalakia Barton.
it's for scene study.
Oh, she got two. There's an intro to acting.
So read it out.
Okay, and there's a second one, Intro to Acting, so you're getting 2 awards for 2 different courses. And again, for Intro to Acting, David Carlo. And for Scene Study, again, David Carlo. Okay, thank you very much.
Professor John Masevich teaches video editing. He teaches radio production. He teaches Media in America. He also is one of my key advisors in America. And please welcome Professor John Masevich.
Excuse me for a second. Okay. So usually I have something to say, and you know, all I can say this year, you know, pretty much everybody else stole my thunder. So what they said, and those of you who are expecting a margarita fountain, I may have stretched the truth a little bit on that one. All right, I lied. So sorry about that. Had to get you here somehow. First thing is radio, the predecessor of television, and somebody once told me a long time ago that really good radio, well, actually television is just really good radio with pictures. So, you know, you're off to a good start no matter where you go. The first, this, by the way, is for basically just basic radio. It's really just to get your hands on the equipment and learn how to speak into a microphone, which I'm kind of doing a bad example of right now. But also, by the way, I'm glad I didn't wear my Scooby-Doo tie tonight. You know, I hope you're good with Sam. But advanced radio is where we start to work a little bit more like a business. We create a radio station, and that's really completely student-driven. And we go through all the positions, and eventually, you know, what we gear for is 2 hours of nonstop programming. And we've had good success with it. So level 3 is more journalism, and I'm always kind of recreating that one a little bit. But right now for the basics, in no particular order, Naomi Asuji. Well, a name we're hearing over and over again, Maritza Blasco. Devin Thomas. Astrid Pena. Is Astrid here? Guess she found out there were no margaritas. Ariel Bland. Amanda Depew. Okay, so that finishes up for radio. Now let me put my editing hat on, and that would be the more interesting, well, let me not say the more interesting, the technically more interesting one, because, you know, I guess I'm old enough, and I'm sure you can relate to this. You know, when I started this, you know, television was one thing, and it was pretty much consumed one way. It was a 4:3 aspect ratio and 525 lines, and the most dramatic difference was maybe you watched it off of a tape instead of watching it when it was scheduled. One of the things that I just drove my class crazy with last week, and I think they were sweating for about a week, was forget about the output. I was just showing them all the different input. And they had a list, and I had about 20 different tapes up. And yeah, I know I'm saying tapes, but if anybody is working in an archive, they're going to come across things, and before they walk up and go, never saw one of those before, I just want to at least give them some flavor, and I probably only got through about half of everything that's there. Outputting is a totally different story. No longer has to be that 4:3 picture. Some kind of 16:9. High definition. What flavor of high definition? What's it going to wind up being? Is it going to wind up being some little video on a screen somewhere, meant for a screen this big, or, hey, 4K, 8K is right around the corner. It's just so different, and yet the principles all remain the same. So the focus of the class, and a lot of times students come in and go, well, what do you edit on? I say, what does it matter? When you learn to drive, did you say, what kind of car am I driving? Well, you may have. But you didn't learn how to drive a different kind of car. Maybe the equipment's different. Maybe you learned on an automatic, now you got to learn a standard shift. But, what we emphasize, at least what I emphasize, is the thing, how to do the thing. So, with everybody that I'm giving some of these awards to, there's also a little bit of tough love in here, because there's probably a few people that I really struggled on it. And, I kind of set my standards a little high. Before you can learn how to break the rules, you have to know what the rules are. And some of you have demonstrated really well that you know what the rules are when you tell me. And when I look at stuff, not so much. So, with that, if he's here, Michael Masiello. Erica Denberg. I have a bad feeling they're over in the edit lab right now going, I gotta get this done. Cody Bellones. Thank God. Somebody. Cody Bolanos, now that I've been corrected. Yvonne Brown.
Where's the advanced editing? What do you look for? It's not there?
Okay. Also on the basic, editing one is, and if she's here, she's going to correct me because I still always just put the wrong emphasis on the wrong letter. Cherie Lewis. Oh, she's here. I got it right this time. And Selena Flores. Okay, so unless I accidentally skipped over something. Okay. F's, I will, I know. Got it. Grace under fire. There's also an advanced editing class. And the advanced editing class, normally I would say, we try to break some of the rules that we learned. Again, there are certain things that sometimes are just a little bit too different. so unconventional, you kind of look at it and go, okay. But sometimes people just get it and they nail it. Absolutely just nail it. And trying to emulate Professor Parada a little bit and kind of have, instead of a whole category of people in a particular class, just kind of isolate it down to one video for the advanced level, or one award for the advanced level. And that's what I did this year. And it was a little bit of a tough choice, but this particular class and this particular project in this particular year, it wasn't as tough as it always is, because even though we produced some really good stuff, there was one that was just way ahead of everybody, and one of those things I'm really happy with and really proud of. And the recipient of the Advanced Editing Award is Lauren Astuni. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Professor Masevich. Up next is second to the last category, film studies. It's not film production, it's learning about film and culture and how they interrelate. Professor Michael King teaches film studies at the college. Please welcome Professor Michael King.
Hey folks, I'm fighting a little bit of an infection, so I hope everyone can hear me clearly, or at least I don't cut off anytime soon. So there are three primary categories that I have here. The first one is film and culture, and it's actually one of the core courses in the film and culture, in the humanities section of media studies. So this is a pretty big deal. The film and culture class really incorporates a lot of sociological aspects of American life and how it's portrayed on screen, and how filmmakers can one day incorporate that information and put it into their films as well. So the hope is that they pay attention in class and not fall asleep, or you get the idea. Because it is a course that requires a lot of study, a lot of definition, term memorizations, and a lot of humanities skills, but at the same time, it does complement the creative process. So there are two awards for the film and culture class, and the first one goes to Rashawn Pace. And the second award goes to James Fabio. He is not here. Okay. The next category is the class Dark Genres. It's not a course that I've taught as of yet, but it incorporates quite a few of the films that are on, how should I say it? Well, consider your film noirs, consider horror, consider what's put on the screen, and that is, that has dark images and such, and the moods and emotions that come from these films. So this is an elective, and we've got quite a few awards for this elective, so I'll just read off the names. The first one's Peter Rohde. The next one's Isaac Rouse. Not here. Just like one of my classes, a lot of people not here. Next one, Christine Casolino. Next one, Aurora and Drayton. I know you. Hi. Congratulations. And the third and last category is writing for film and TV. So this is the direct creative end of, I guess, what I have here today. So I guess they learn to write in the short and the long form as far as storytelling and such is concerned, and the formatting and so on and so forth. So there are quite a few awards for this as well, so I'll get with that. The first award for this goes to Brandy Presley. Okay, and moving on. Next one, Lauren Ostumi. Lauren Ostumi. Is it Ostumi? Ostumi? Yeah. My bad.
Thank you.
I'm usually pretty good with names, but one gets away. Next one, Elena Almadea. Or Almeida, because I said I was good with names. Next one, Stephen Varley. And last one, Darian Green. Okay. Well, congratulations to the winners anyway. So that's all right.
All right, the last category, right? I'm hungry too. I really am. Fundamentals of Television Production is the Level 1 TV production course. Students learn how to operate the equipment and also how to act in front of the camera. But basically, it's the first time they come into contact with television studio production. They're directing, they're running sound, they're operating a camera, they're floor managing, they're doing a whole host of things, technical directing, assistant directing, floor managing, etc. And so there's one person in this category which I'd like to give a Quill Award to, Catherine Halecki. Okay, we got it? And the next class is Level 2, TV Studio Production. In this class, students, they work with a script in this class. They read from storyboards, they read from scripts, they perform. It's fictional narrative. It's what you would see on a television soap opera, almost. Not as good, but that's the model, okay? It's a situation. It's TV2. They do all the jobs associated with that production, from directing down to camera, down to performing, or out to performing, not down, but out to performing, and doing all those jobs there. Kirsten Calley, is she here? Kirsten? Next is Geraldine Cran-Prez. Next, Elizabeth Ben Cosme. There you go. Adam, take a shot. Thank you. Congratulations. Next is Edward Zekas. Third time's a charm, Zekas. Edward Zekas. Cody Bolanos. All right, man. The next category is for advanced TV studio production, where students write and produce their own vignettes. In other words, all the jobs they learned about in TV2, they apply in TV3, but now they're in more control. They're in control of the story, they're in control of the shot selection, they're more in control of the performance. And each student in that class is responsible for producing a scene of their own, and they use the rest of the class as a crew to back them up on that scene. So the first award, Selena Flores is here. Selena? Selena's not here, okay. Next is Lauren Astuni. I'll get it for you, I promise. Jacqueline DiGianni. Chloe's not here? Chloe's not here? Why not? Jacqueline's sister is in another one of my classes. I guess I did something right if this younger sister comes to my class as well. Erica's not here. And Deanna Capers. Deanna is taking it beyond advanced television production. Deanna's producing her own program, her own film. She's involved in doing all sorts of things, and I'm very happy about that. I'd like to think I had something to do with it, but maybe not. And Deanna's partner in crime lots of times is Christopher Hart. Where's Chris? Come on, Chris. Turn around, get a shot. Get a shot. Chris and Deanna like to work well together, and they met each other here just in the program. Oh, Cody Bolanos again. He's cleaning up. Cody's cleaning up. And Devin Thomas. Devin Thomas. Okay, last category, one award is for video documentary. It's equivalent to Television 7 or Television 8. In other words, there are other television levels before that, TV1, TV2, TV3, and each level focuses on a different style of production. Field production, news production, video editing, studio production, 1, 2, 3, etc. Video documentary is where they get to tie this all together, hopefully, with a combination of editing, combination of shooting on location, combination of doing studio segments as well, studio interviewing as well. And there's one person here who graduated last semester, but is here tonight, Rain Savino Tapia. Last but not least. Okay, all right. Well, yes, I'm hungry too, I know. This does bring us to the conclusion of this portion of the evening. I want to thank all the parents and the students. I want to thank the room setup. What are you pointing to? Oh, yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah, thank you. There's another award here. Yeah, there's another award. Let me see this. Earlier, I introduced a faculty member to give out some awards, and I'm going to award this faculty member with a Quill plaque. This person has been working with me here for 17 years. This person has been my right arm in terms of equipment design, studio installation, research, and technology. And without him, we would be in the dark ages. I want to award this Quill Award plaque presented to John M. Misevich for outstanding dedication and support to the Media Studies program.
What he said. Yeah, I mean, thanks, Lou. There's a part of me that's saying it's about time. But you know what? There's a part of me that doesn't, because Lou's a little modest, and he doesn't always shout from the highest peaks of his achievements too. He helps me out tremendously several times professionally outside of school, and you know, it just makes my life a lot easier. So this is actually just my way of kind of maintaining a little bit of a professional, personal relationship and a work relationship. But this means an awful lot to me, and you know, it's going right up on my wall, right behind my office at work, and you know, I don't know what to say. Thank you.
John's wife gave birth to their first son about 8 months ago, so he's got a newborn at home, too. I guess he's up late nights doing research. Well, Mike, you know about that, too. Anyway, this honestly concludes this part of the program, the awards ceremony. I'd like to thank you all really for coming, the parents, the dedication, the students, the facilities for setting up, the kitchen for waiting so long, because we should have been done a long time ago. And I want to invite you all now back to the tables and the food to enjoy yourself. And thank you again for coming this year. Have a good night.